This is After Ian. While art can be part of a healing process, the mental health struggles after a devastating storm like Ian is very real. Cary Barbor spoke with two experts on how they help their patients.
Hurricane Ian was traumatic for a lot of people in Southwest Florida to a greater or lesser degree. Some people lost their homes, some people witnessed death and destruction. Some people might have just seen the scary wind and rain and surge outside their window. So I feel like there was a lot of trauma to go around that day and this year. Joining us today are Dr. Nicole Navega. She's a trauma therapist for Lee County. Alex Conrad is Clinical Director of Acute Care and Children's Partial Hospitalization for David Lawrence Center in Naples. Welcome to you both. Thank you so much for coming. Let me just start by asking you, what professional role were you playing on the day of Ian last year, and kind of what were you doing that day?
My current role is the Clinical Director of Acute Care. At the time of Ian, I was actually working for a community-based treatment team, the FACT team out of Collier County, serving people with severe and persistent mental illness. And we were out in the community trying to make sure that people were safe and checking on them the day of the storm.
Wow. And Dr. Navega, tell me, what were you up to that day?
I'm a trauma therapist for Lee County Public Safety, so meaning I work mostly with EMTs, paramedics, and that includes emergency communication, so 911 call takers and dispatchers. I would say of all of the first responders during the storm, I would say they were hit the hardest. And so about 11 o'clock the night of the storm, once the winds died down, the county, along with all of the other first responder organizations, get together and they decide we have to send a reconnaissance team out. And so they were all activated. So we have every single call taker in the building, every single dispatcher. And so high stress, right? Because normally our call takers are able to say, help's on the way, right? They can say, I've got a unit 3 minutes out. And so they spent a lot of time not having solutions for folks who were in real trouble. Fortunately, we have a lovely service dog named Maggie. She came out with me and we just spent time there. I might have a PhD, but the truth is that Maggie does all the work. Everyone loves her and a really nice stress reliever in such a traumatic time.
I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that, not just how people reacted that night, but what have you been seeing in the year since?
First off, with this last storm that just come through, I mean, I think we all felt it, but those that lived it feel it deeper. There's almost like a learned helplessness that comes along with it. I think a lot of things are not moving along quickly enough for some of the people that are
in terms of the repairs and stuff.
Yeah, insurances aren't paying. The things are just moving at a very slow pace, and I think it's very frustrating for people. It's a helpless feeling, and I think that's kind of eating away at some of, people come here because they want to retire, they want to live here, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, they invested their life here. And to have that be washed away or to have that be shaken is a scary thing.
And what about if, my home is still wrecked, I'm still couch surfing, I still don't have a place to go home to. I mean, I feel like in my case, my house was flooded, it took a year to fix it, but we're almost there. And I feel like I can now grieve and kind of move on.
I think it comes down to a sense of community, a sense of faith, a sense of hope. Not getting back to normal, nothing's ever going to be normal. It's getting back to the things that made it worthwhile and reconnecting with some of the people and just having a sense of shared understanding, but also hope.
It's interesting, you said essentially it wasn't that bad for me, right? And I think one of the things that we do is it's a disservice to our own grief process to minimize our grief, right? Even though it may not have been as bad as your neighbor or somebody that you knew, it still has an impact on us. So being still in that moment can give people even just a moment's sense of peace, which sometimes is better than nothing. Research tells us that time in nature, 15, 20 minutes in nature, will relieve stress too. And I say talk it out, right? Talk to people. A lot of times people want to keep that stuff inside, but talking it out is going to be essential.
Is there anything else that you all would add that you would want to just make sure we covered today in this conversation?
Just supporting the people that need it. You know, if you have friends or family or loved ones or whatever, just being there for them and saying, okay, you know, we're gonna get through this. You know, I think sometimes we can forget how significant of an event this truly was. It was pretty seismic, and it's not something that we need to be ashamed of or afraid of or like turn away from. We need to embrace it, but also be there to support the people that need it.
Thank you both for being here and discussing this really important topic.
Thank you for having us.
If you need someone to talk with, please reach out to the Florida Warm Line at 800-945-1355, or if you're in crisis or know someone who is considering suicide, please call 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. There are many more stories and more of holding our community leaders accountable as we rebuild after Hurricane Ian.
Please stay with WGCU as we continue to gather the news and present it at WGCU.org, on WGCU FM, and right here on WGCU PBS.
We want to say thank you to all for helping us tell the stories of Hurricane Ian.